What's up, Waluigi? Trent from Trentendo here. We've got a brand new video for you guys today. We're going to talk a little bit more about Hogwarts Legacy and if this is really the impossible port that it seems to be, or if there's a little bit more magic to this madness, and that this game is maybe just an example of what is possible on the Nintendo Switch if you have the right resources. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video so you guys are kept up to date with everything going on here at Trentendo. Let's see if we can't hit 20 likes on this video. It really does help, and I hope you guys enjoy this little discussion. Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot of things out here, and we've posted a couple of videos about Hogwarts Legacy now, and there's been some updates with the gameplay footage from the commercial in Japan. We've seen the screenshots from the eShop, and there's a lot of wonder as to, well, how this game is going to run, right? It seems like it's going to look okay. The screenshots look pretty decent compared to what you'd expect, especially when compared to a PS5. You know, it's not a PS5 graphics level, but it's pretty good for what you would expect to see on a Nintendo Switch. Far better than things like a Jurassic World Evolution on the Switch, or even the first couple of years of Ark Survival. Now, the question, though, is, as we did say earlier, is how is this going to run? Now, there's been a lot of comments, and I've seen people down in our comments of some of our videos that don't be fooled, this game is not going to be able to run on the Switch. And while they may be right, as the jury is still out, we haven't really seen much aside of that footage from the commercial, and even then it was just a very short glimpse of what the game may have to offer, as we only had 30 seconds of gameplay, and even then some of those were cutscenes. So the question is how are they able to get this to run on a Nintendo Switch? Now, I think the thing that, as I've thought about it and as I've read more about some of the things that we've seen with the Switch in general, and especially with Nintendo exclusive games, is that the time may be the big factor here. Just the time between launch of, you know, the Hogwarts Legacy on everything else versus the Nintendo Switch. First, we got to kind of talk about a little bit more about Tears of the Kingdom, actually, before we can even really hop into this. If you look at Tears of the Kingdom, this game was supposed to come out in 2022. Now, Nintendo delayed the game, and it was even came out later in an interview that they delayed the game an entire year just to polish it up and get it ready for an actual release. Now, a year seems like a long time, but if you look at what the final product was, Tears of the Kingdom was an awesome game, and it had very few bugs upon release, and it's a huge game. I reckon to say it is far bigger than Hogwarts Legacy. Now, the graphics and the art style probably a little bit different, but in far the scope of the world and the interactivity that you have, being able to create things, the physics engine behind everything, it's very, very intensive. And to have a whole year to be able to kind of develop that probably helped a lot. And then just recently with Mario Wonder, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it's come out as well in some interviews that Nintendo did not give them a timeline on this game. They said, go out and enjoy the game, make something good, make something unique, make something special, and they've delivered, you know. And granted, it is a 2D platformer, but they were given the time to really, you know, develop and to plan and to execute on a final game product. Now, that brings us back to this idea with Hogwarts Legacy. And I wonder if this is in connection with Nintendo, where Nintendo has shown in the past and in the recent past, you know, just with those two examples, that they are willing to delay games in order to polish and prepare a final product that is more perfect than if they were to rush something out. You know, I think we all think of Cyberpunk 2077 and just the bugs and the glitches that happened because it was a rushed game. But I think with Hogwarts Legacy, now, like I said, the jury's still out. This still may run like dog water. I'm not saying this is going to be perfect. I'm not saying this is going to be excellent. But from the few things that we've seen, and from the track record that, you know, Nintendo has shown to delay things, and granted, I know this is not a Nintendo-developed game, but I have to imagine that there are some help, some communication between the people at Avalanche and Warner Bros. Game and Nintendo to really make sure that this game is going to be well received on the Nintendo Switch. So I think that the combination of the delays, you know, being and really trying to make sure that they process things and get things polished up, I think it bodes well for the Switch version. Now, kind of even going back to Hogwarts Legacy, you know, it was announced that this game was going to be coming out in February, whatever. That was an initial delay, I think, as well. And then we kind of got the news that, hey, this is actually coming to the Switch, and we were all excited, and how the heck is this going to happen? And then they had the delay for the later gen consoles, right? So PC, PS5, and Xbox Series S and X, they got their release in February as planned. And then everything else was kind of bumped to April. PS4 and Xbox One was bumped to April. And Nintendo Switch didn't actually even get an announcement at that point. And we were kind of concerned, when is this actually going to come to the Switch, if at all? Eventually it comes out, okay, the Nintendo Switch version is going to release in July. So even a little bit further past that April mark. And so, maybe that just gives them a little bit more time, hopefully, to get this thing running. And I think this is kind of where this idea of the impossible port started to really start to happen. We really wondered how they were going to be able to get this on in the first place. And then as they continued to bump it further and further past everything else, I think that idea can continue to kind of blossom. And to make matters worse, they then bump it from that July slot and say, hey, you know what, this is actually going to come out in November. And I think that really put a big damper on a lot of fans' expectations. They were hoping to see this game in early part of the year in February, and now it's not going to come out until mid-November. So I think that this is, it's been a little bit tough pill to swallow for a lot of Switch owners. But I think this may be a really good sign, though, for Hogwarts Legacy as a whole, and may give us some insight as to why we see so many third-party games just skip the Nintendo Switch. I don't think that the Switch is necessarily the weakling that they make it out to be. It is far behind the times, I will say that. But I think a bigger issue is that these teams that are developing these games are given insufficient time to develop them. And when they make these ports, they make it very difficult to give them the time to be able to make sure that the game runs properly. So rather than giving them the time, they just don't come to the Nintendo Switch. And maybe this is, maybe it's a factor of money. Everything that takes longer is going to end up costing them more money in the long run. But with the install base that the Nintendo Switch has, you'd have to imagine that a lot of these games would make up for that with how well the game will end up selling, even if it does take them some longer time in development. And Nintendo, I think, have shown that with, like I said, with Tears of the Kingdom and with Mario Wonder, where they took their time developing those games, and it has paid dividends. Look at how the games have sold. Tears of the Kingdom has sold amazingly. Mario Wonder, we don't really have sales figures yet, but I can't imagine this game not selling well with all the hype and rave reviews it's received. So I think that this could be a sign for other third-party developers to say, hey, look how Hogwarts Legacy did it. They just gave them the time to get it done. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward with third-party games. I think that we've heard a lot of rumblings about Nintendo Switch 2, and that there is going to be a lot more third-party support on that end. I think that makes sense, and I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that in another video. But here, it is good to see that, Avalanche and Warner Bros. Are giving the Nintendo Switch a fair shake. Hopefully it pays off. Like I said, we'll have to wait and see how it actually runs. It's hard to say now, but I think that, in my personal opinion, I think this is a very big deal that they were given the time to make sure this game runs well. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Do you think this game is going to run? Do you think the extra time is really going to benefit it, or do you think it was just kind of a stalling tactic to make sure that this game sold well on other platforms, and then okay, we'll put it on the Switch and just kind of see how it does. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts behind that, though. I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like this video. Like I said, let's see if we can hit 20 likes. I really would appreciate it. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say down below. So I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, catch you later.